Now, the next topic we have, it's eat well to move your bowels well, and we have Miss Magan Ho. Let us welcome Miss Magan Ho.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks so much for taking time out of your Saturday to join us in this webinar. So actually, as Dr. Surendra just now mentioned a few times, actually fiber is one of the first line treatment options when we talk about treatment for incontinence. So actually today my talk really focuses very heavily on fiber, and also I'll be discussing the role of fiber as well as how much we actually require in our day-to-day diet. I will also be elaborating a bit about prebiotics and probiotics because these are terms that you may have heard before, and I will just go through label reading very quickly as well later. Okay, so for regular bowel movements, this is just basic uh, uh, dietary recommendations with or without bowel incontinence. We generally recommend these three be adequate for regular bowel movements. Okay, so if you are struggling with constipation or diarrhea, of course, diarrhea is it's really multi factorial. It could be something that's a bit more sinister underlying. So if you do have chronic diarrhea, make sure to just check it out with your doctor. But if you are on the other end where you're backed up constantly, these are the things to watch out for. So we usually would recommend adequate fiber. It's roughly a range of 20 to 26 grams per day. And of course, the other thing is when you do increase your fiber intake, you also must increase your intake of fluids. This is very important because otherwise your stools will be very hard and it'll be even more difficult to pass. Okay, and it will actually exacerbate the problem of constipation even more. So for fluids, if the doctor, if you are not on a fluid restriction currently due to some heart or kidney issue, the general recommendation is roughly 30 to 40 mils of water or fluids per kg of your body weight. So for example, I'm around 50 kg, I should be aiming for at least 1.5 to 2 liters of fluids per day. Okay. And then lastly, physical activity is recommended to help keep your gut moving. So a lot of times in the hospital where we work, the doctors or the surgeons will really recommend moving or mobilizing on day one after surgery. So this is actually just to get the gut moving so that they can pass gas and pass bowel so that we can escalate the diet post-op. Yeah, so actually physical activity or just general movement is very important to help the gut move. Okay. Now for this nutri-grade, okay, now this is a bit, I'm a bit digressing here. I just wanted to maybe just highlight to everyone that there's this new ranking of drinks, both commercial and prepared in Singapore. This was launched, I believe, 1 or 2 years ago already. It's been quite some time. Basically, it's to generally, okay, because the average Singaporean actually consumes up to like 12 teaspoons of sugar per day, which is actually more than what is recommended by the Health Promotion Board. So this is actually, this ranking is assigned to drinks to help us make healthier options. Okay, so just now when I talked about fluids, right? Of course, it doesn't mean any drink. It doesn't mean 2 liters of bubble tea a day, of course. So if you do have conditions like high cholesterol or diabetes, you should be aiming for drinks that are either Nutri-Grade A or B. Okay, so of course the ranking is actually based on the sugar and the fat content of the drinks. But now going back to the fiber. So actually, I just want to discuss about the role of fiber. Now, fiber actually there are two different kinds. We have first the soluble fiber, which actually dissolves in water to become like a paste, and it actually binds to the cholesterol in our food to prevent the body from absorbing it. So actually, it can help reduce our cholesterol if you are struggling with that issue. If you do have a history of high cholesterol, then the other one, which is the more what people would understand fiber to be, is actually called insoluble fiber, which is the rough fibrous part in the stringy parts of vegetables. Like sometimes chai sim or kailan or kangkong, you can chew and chew and chew, and then what's left of it is actually this za, right? That is actually the insoluble fiber part of the vegetable. So this doesn't get digested or doesn't get absorbed by the body, and it helps to add bulk to the stools, which is what Dr. Surendra mentioned earlier, which is bulking up the stool. So earlier on, he mentioned some bulking agents. There are some products out there that you can add to drinks, to just drink down as a fiber supplement. But honestly, there are a lot of foods that we can choose in our everyday diet to help to increase the fiber intake. Okay, so I don't know if everyone has seen this healthy plate, but it is basically the proportions that we should be aiming for both lunch and dinner, which is why, as you can see here, I wait. Let me find the annotation. I'm just wanting to draw on this screen a bit. Okay, never mind. I cannot find it. So let me just go through with you very quickly. So you can see here my healthy plate, right? It should be one quarter of the plate should be made up of starch, which is your rice, your noodles, your bread. And then the remaining one quarter would be from proteins, and then half of your plate, which is actually your 10-inch dinner plate, should be made up of vegetables. Okay, so yeah. So actually, the when I say 200 grams times 2 cooked, right, it's actually referring to the cooked weight. So for example, your rice, after cooking, 200 grams would be roughly around one rice bowl portion, and times 2 is because there's both for lunch and the dinner. Okay, so this is actually the amount that's recommended in a day, of course, excluding breakfast lah. So if you can see here, the last line here says 2 fruits a day. So the HPB also recommends consuming 2 fruits a day. And how much will be considered one fruit is actually around a fist size. So if you use your hand here, this would be the size of roughly a 1 medium apple or 1 medium orange. Okay, so it should be just the flesh alone, should be around 100, 120 grams or so. So if you're having a wedge of papaya, a wedge of honeydew, those one piece that you purchase from outside, that's roughly around that weight. Okay, so a lot of times, a lot of Singaporeans, we eat out. So a lot of the common complaints that I get from patients is, I cannot find anything healthy outside. Not true. Actually, you can, if you want to eat a healthy, you are able to eat a healthy balanced diet even if you are eating out. Okay, even if you don't cook at home. So actually, what it would look like, if you're having something from Cai Fan stall, that would be actually 一个肉两个菜, so 1 meat 2 veg, with 1 bowl of rice. And then for the Western, it would be for example a baked fish fillet or a chicken chop with a side of salad or the garden vegetables. I mean the blanched vegetables or the garden salad with a mashed potato being the starch. Okay, and then if it's like noodle soup, right? You can also do the same thing. For example, Yong Tau Fu, the stall, sometimes, most of the time, you should be able to choose the amount of vegetables you want to have, right? So try to go for more veggies. Yeah. And then, yeah, so these are just some of the common foods that we can find in our hawker centers and food courts. So it is possible to apply this plate concept even if you are not able to cook at home. Okay. So let's talk about now the starch. So these are some of the high fiber whole grains other than just brown rice. Actually, you can have things like brown rice bee hoon or wholemeal bread or even oats and chapati if you are eating from the Indian stall. So one thing to take note is for oats as well as barley, actually they have this special soluble fiber called beta glucan to help to reduce cholesterol levels. Basically the amount that is recommended to help reduce your cholesterol is to consume 10 tablespoons of oats per day. Now this works out to be roughly around 70 grams, and this 70 grams of oats will give you that 3 grams of soluble fiber. Okay, and that is the therapeutic amount to help reduce your cholesterol. Then now let's talk about the other half of the plate, which is actually the vegetables. So some general guidelines would be to aim to eat a rainbow, because if you're having a variety of colors on your plate, your red capsicum, your purple cabbage, your white tauge, brown onions, green broccoli or chai sim, what else? What other colors do we have? Orange carrots. So basically, each color Each color actually would represent a different phytonutrient that you are getting from the vegetable. So the other thing to take note also is, particular for people with diabetes, if you are trying to manage your blood sugar, then maybe try to limit your intake of starchy vegetables like potato, sweet potato, corn, and yam. These contain a bit more starch than the non-starchy versions, so they should be counted as a carb. That means you can have a baked potato instead of rice, or maybe instead of your rice, you can have your a sweet potato instead. So some people, they would choose at the Cai Fan stall, they would choose the stir-fried potatoes as a vegetable. Yes, it is charged as a vegetable cost, but it should be counted as a starch and not really as a veggie. Okay, now this is only for more towards the people with diabetes lah. And the last thing to take note actually is the cooking method, as well as the amount of gravy, oil, and salt that's added during the cooking. So like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the times we tend to eat out. So just be mindful of the cooking method that's being used. Most of the time, try to go for the stir-fried veggies, those in soups, okay, or those light stir fries, rather than those in like very heavy gravies, like those that contain coconut milk. The cooking method I wanted to highlight was also those that are deep fried, like for example your tempura vegetables and the lok lok. Actually, I know lok lok is very nice, and I'm having that for dinner tonight. But lok lok, actually, most of the time they will deep fry it, and then before they coat it with some sauce. So this method of cooking actually adds a lot more oil to it, and that can actually be detrimental to our health, if particularly we are having some of these chronic conditions like high cholesterol lah. Okay. Now, for fruits, right? Some general guidelines to take note is opt for fresh fruit and skin on if possible. Now, a lot of the times people will peel off the skin from the apple or pear, or some parents, they like to peel off the skin of the grapes for their kids. Um, um, if you are washing your fruits adequately, there is actually no need to do that. In fact, a lot of the nutrients, especially fiber, is in the skin. So try to keep the skin on to maximize your fiber intake. The other thing to take note is also to try to avoid, or rather limit your juice intake and dried fruit, because these actually contain more sugar than the fresh fruits itself. And lastly, like I mentioned earlier, a variety of colors. So make sure you're eating a rainbow, not just from your veggies, but also from the fruits as well. Okay. Now, I understand there are some people who also have issues with their dentition, so they are not able to chew tough and fibrous things like apple and oranges. Those might be a bit challenging. So then you might be wondering, okay, so you asked me to eat 2 fruits a day, right? How am I going to get this into my stomach? Now, I have another option for you, which is actually to just choose the softer fruits, things like strawberries or maybe papaya. These are the ones, or bananas even. These can actually be easier to masticate. But otherwise, actually, if you do want to juice your fruits, right? That that really, because that's a very common question. So the question to me is usually, can I juice my fruits? Now, actually, when we talk about juicing, right, there are a variety of machinery out there that you can utilize to basically make a smoothie or juice, right? Now, if you look at the first item here, right, actually this is a juicer, and you can see there's a little a container, a container on the side that will then, the pulp, a pulp, a pulp will the pulp will go into that container there. Okay, and then for the second one, it's actually a smoothie where everything gets blended up. And then the last one here, you can see the Huron brand one, right? It's actually very, very expensive, and it's like a extra high-tech juicer. So which one actually should you be using if you are going to be juicing? Actually, the recommendation is to use the middle one, because this actually includes all the fiber in it as well. Okay, so if you are having trouble with chewing, or rather you prefer to drink, okay, for whatever reason, then try to go for the middle one, where you can make a smoothie where all the fiber is included in the drink, okay, and it's not being discarded. So how much fiber to aim for a day? This one I've already gone through it very quickly. Just now it was 20 to 26, right? Actually, 20 grams per day for women and 26 grams per day for men. Now, what this looks like actually, I will show you a sample meal plan for around 20 grams per day. It's honestly not like a mountain of salad that you have to consume. So for breakfast, 2 slices of wholemeal bread will give you around 3 grams of fiber. And then for lunch and dinner, if you're having brown rice or brown rice bee hoon, one portion of 200 grams will be around 2 to 3 grams already. And then 100 grams of cooked vegetables will be 100 grams, would be 3 grams of fiber. Of course, we don't expect any fiber from the chicken, fish, or prawns that we are having. And then as a snack, you could have your 2 fruits a day. So by adding up the numbers in the bracket, actually this will give you 20 grams of fiber per day. Now, of course, I'm not saying that everybody should only have cai fan or your mixed vegetable rice where it's very boring if you consume it every day for 3 meals or 2 meals a day. So what it can be used, so the meal plan that you're seeing here actually is a skeleton of what we want most people to have in a day. So it can be many, many different forms. The brown rice could be used in a one dish meal like fried rice. Then your veggies can be on the side or cooked in together the fried rice, similarly to with the protein. Or otherwise, the bee hoon could be either in a soup or stir fried like 炒米粉. So actually, honestly, as long as we are going for the whole grains, making sure that our meals have adequate vegetables and 2 fruits a day, actually you can't really go stray too far from this 20 to 26 grams of fiber per day. So let's go through the fiber content of common foods now. So you can see here, right? The fiber content of your whole grains like oats, your brown rice, your wholemeal bread, actually would be much higher than those that are refined grains like your white rice, your pasta, your plain noodles. And then for bread and biscuits, of course, wholemeal bread would be higher. Now, the other thing is, some people actually do complain to me that they cannot take wholemeal bread because it's too hard. They don't like that texture. There are now actually it's been around for a very, very long time. There are actually high fiber white bread options that you can purchase very easily. You don't even need to go to a specialty store. Any supermarket would have a high fiber white bread option, so you can actually look out for those. Okay. For fruits, of course, those with skin on, those fruits would be higher in fiber. But honestly, it doesn't mean that you have to stick to only the fruits in the last column. Of course, you can alternate between those that are moderate fiber and high fiber for variety as well. Okay, and then for vegetables, generally things that are you know with skin on, like for example, you see potato with skin, your green leafy vegetables, actually they would have a higher fiber content. Some other things that were not mentioned in the previous list, right, actually are nuts and seeds. They average around 2 grams of fiber for a one handful serve, like this. If you can see on my screen, it's roughly around 30 grams or so. But of course, you shouldn't also be adding or rather eating nuts and seeds just for the fiber content because they can actually be very high in calories. So if you are already consuming nuts and seeds on a regular basis, it's just good to know that it's actually contributing some fiber to your diet as well. Now, so just now, Dr. Surendra mentioned bulking agents, right? We do use some products in the hospital to help bulk up or rather bump up the fiber intake for our patients. But actually, if you do a quick search, I mean, I just did this last night, you can see that there's a ton of like products out there in the market, and it can be quite confusing. But honestly, actually, if you are already eating a well-balanced diet, honestly, there is no need to go for these fiber supplements. Okay. Okay, so just go through the label reading very quickly. Most products, packaged products, commercial products would have this thing called the NIP, Nutrition Information Panel, on the back. This will actually tell you how much fiber, how much protein, how much calories a serve of that fruit is giving you. So just to take note, if you are going out to the supermarket later, maybe you can put this into practice. You can actually compare 2 loaves of bread. You can look at the basic white bread. You can look at the high fiber white bread as well as the wholemeal bread to look at the fiber content per 100 grams. Now, per serving is a bit difficult to tell because you can see here for bread A, the serving size is actually 2 slices, whereas for bread B, the serving size is only 1 slice. So you cannot compare apples to oranges or bread A to bread B because the serving size is different. So to make it a fair comparison, you need to compare the amount of fiber in the per 100 gram column. So you can see here, the wholemeal bread has 6 grams of fiber per 100 grams, whereas the white bread has only 3.7 grams of fiber per 100 grams. So the healthier option here, if you are managing or trying to increase your fiber intake, would be the bread A, which is your wholemeal bread. Okay. Now, these prebiotics and probiotics, you may have heard of these terms before. So what exactly are they? Probiotics are actually the good bacteria in your gut that helps to digest your leftover food that doesn't get absorbed in the small intestines, okay, which is actually your fiber. And your prebiotics are basically your fiber. So the probiotics actually does help with basically there's this thing called the gut-brain axis, which I won't go into, but for general health, usually, some people may take probiotic supplements, but honestly, actually, if you don't have any issues with diarrhea or bloating or constipation, honestly, it is a extra benefit that you can include in your diet. But if you do wish to consume probiotics, actually there is no need to take supplements. Actually, live culture yogurt or even fermented items such as kimchi or sauerkraut, they also do contain probiotics. So just one thing to take note about kimchi and sauerkraut, because the process of fermentation it takes a while, right? So they usually tend to add quite a bit of salt to it to make sure that it doesn't go bad during the process of fermentation. So just watch out for the sodium content or the salt content when you are consuming these foods, right? Okay, we have reached the summary. So basically, the 3 take-home points actually would be, firstly, to aim for adequate fiber, also known as prebiotics. So now you know. Basically, this is food for the good gut bacteria in your large intestines. For males, it's roughly 26 grams per day. Females is 20 grams a day. And how do you know how much your food has? You can either follow the healthy plate or you can do label reading when you are buying any commercial products. So you can look at that table on the back of the packaging. Secondly is to make sure that while you are increasing your fiber intake, you're also increasing your fluid intake at the same time as well. So the rough numbers to remember is around 30 to 40 mils per kg body weight. But of course, this is only a general recommendation. Nowadays, the weather very warm. It's getting warmer and warmer already. You may be sweating a bit more. So just make sure that you are drinking to thirst. I can see Jenny drinking now. so so just make sure that you're drinking to thirst. But of course, this is only if your doctor didn't tell you beforehand that you need to restrict your fluids, because there are some people with heart issues or kidney problems that they may need to restrict their fluid intake for. Okay, and also just to watch out for the fat and sugar content of our drinks, because diabetes and high cholesterol is quite common. So just make sure not all 2 liters is coming from your 3-in-1 coffee and bubble tea and things like that. So water is best, but of course, if you are making smoothies a part of your daily diet, that can actually contribute to your 2 liters per day as well. Okay, because you tend to add water or milk to it to be able to blend it more easily. Okay, and the last one would actually be to aim for regular physical activity to move your gut. So these are the 3 things that we want to just highlight to everyone. If you are having any bowel issues, just make sure that these are adequate first before we do other changes or recommendations. Yeah. Okay, and that's about it. I will now hand the time over to our physio.